Hey guys, Preacher 357 here, out here in the shop at the cleaning table here because I want to do a little tabletop comparison today between the original Browning high power, the FN P-35 sometimes it's called, and the Springfield Armory model that has been out the last 2 or 3 years, the SA-35. Which is basically a high power clone, an FN high power clone. And I thought I'd do a little bit of comparison between the two and see how true to the original it is and see how it might differ and what they might have improved on it. And, of course, ultimately I want to answer the question, is the Springfield Armory model a good alternative to an original FN? Because if you're not aware, FN discontinued the high power in 2018. Now they did begin putting out a new high power in 2022, but it is not the original. It is a redesigned model that is somewhat similar. It looks a lot like it, but it's not the exact same design, so it's not a true high power. I hope to get a hold of one of those eventually and do a review of one of the new, improved, redesigned versions, but it's not an original high power. And so I thought, let's compare the original FN to the Springfield SA-35. Now, there's some other high powers on the market as well. Gersan, for example, is one of the Turkish companies that's also making a P-35 or a high power clone as well. And it seems to be a fairly nice gun. I haven't shot it, I haven't gotten one yet, but I've heard some good things about it, so I'd like to get a hold of one of those as well. But right now I've got the Springfield. And the thing about the Springfield is it's less expensive than the FN. Even less expensive than the original FN was up until 2018. So it's not what I would call a budget gun, but as far as high powers go, it's fairly well a budget high power. But it seems to be well made from what I can tell. It seems to be a nice gun. All the reviews seem to have been fairly good on it. But I thought I would just take an opportunity here to put them side by side and just do a little bit of comparison. Now, obviously, the high power design was initially done by John Moses Browning, the great firearms designer, inventor. Unfortunately, he was not able to finish his design. He only, contributed the initial plans, and then another gentleman whose name I cannot pronounce, but I'll put it up on the screen for you. He actually finished out the high power design. So it's a collaboration between those two men. And the high power was finished and marketed originally in 1935, which is why sometimes it's called the P-35. And it was made continuously by FN from 1935 until 2018. So it had a long run. A lot of different countries used it. Their police forces, their militaries used it. I think over 50 countries used it for their military at one time. So it was a very popular pistol as well. And so I thought I'd do a little bit of a comparison here today. So before we do that, won't you check out the description? I've got a link there for Weatherbeard Supply Company. They make beard care products. So if you'd like to have a nice healthy beard like I've got here, that's one of my secrets there. When I went to the salon not too long ago, the lady there was commenting on how healthy my beard was. What are you doing with your beard? And I told her the stuff I was putting in it, the weather beard, and she said, yeah, it's a very healthy beard. She was quite impressed because it wasn't dry and in bad shape like a lot of men's beards are. And that's because of Weatherbeard Supply products. So I've got a code you can use there, or you can click the link and it should automatically apply that code, and you'll get a 10% discount, and I'll also get a percentage of the proceeds to help me buy guns and ammo for this channel. So if you want to support me and get the good product that I've been using for almost a year now already, and that's why I chose to support them, because I use them and I really like their product. So check out Weatherbeard Pick up some good beard care products there. Also, there's a link there for the GOA, Gun Owners of America, for a discounted membership there where you can get in the fight, especially on the national level, but also they work on the state levels as well. And then I have a link for the TFA, the Tennessee Firearms Association. If you're a Tennessean like I am, a proud Tennessean, then I'd really like you to consider joining the TFA. TFA has done a lot of hard work over the years to secure all of the rights that we have now. They've worked tirelessly to try to put some good legislation forward to restore all of the rights that we should have been guaranteed the whole time under our Constitution, but that lawmakers throughout the years have decided to infringe upon. So we're still working on that. There's still work to be done. We've got a lot of freedom now, but there's still some work to be done to restore everything to the way it should be. So if you live in Tennessee, please join up with the TFA as well. So let's get over here now and take a look at these two guns. All right, guys, we're here at the table now, and I've got both the guns here. And what always stands out to me first and foremost when I'm looking at the Springfield versus the original is the Springfield has a different grip. The stocks on it are different, and they've been redesigned. They're very ergonomic. I think they make the gun look very, very nice as well. And so they're a little darker wood as well compared to the original grips here. So the Springfield here, looks like a more modern gun to me with these redesigned grips, and I really like that on the Springfield. It makes it stand out, and you can tell it's a Springfield by those grips. Another thing is on the Springfield, they increased the size of the safety and put better sights on it. Wait a second. I've got the grips on the wrong gun, don't I? So there it goes to show you that the grips from the Springfield will fit on an FN. And that's one of the main differences when I look at it that I notice is the grips, but it's just that. It's just the stocks, and they will interchange. If you wanted to put this stock on your Springfield, obviously you can. Now I'm just joking around, clearly. I knew I'd put them on the FN. I was just wondering if everybody else would notice the difference as well. So I've got the Springfield grip on the FN and the FN grip on the Springfield. I flip them around, you'll see I only changed one side out. But there are some other differences here as well. Obviously I just said the safety, the manual safety is much easier to manipulate on the Springfield. Now if you don't like safeties very much, it's more in the way, I guess. But with these guns being single action only, generally speaking, if you were going to carry them, you're probably going to carry them cocked and locked like you would a 1911. So, you want to be able to manipulate that safety, and this one is very small and can be hard to get to at times. So that's a difference. Another difference is obviously the sights. The Springfield has modern sights on it. It's got the U-notch rear sight. Not sure if I like that or not. It's kind of the way I felt about several of the Springfield. Sometimes I think I like it, and sometimes I'm not sure if I like that U-notch or not, but I guess it works all right. Just what you get used to, I guess. It has a good sight picture. The front sight is easily visible, but these are not night sights on here. But on the original FN, obviously, it's just machined. Now, the rear is dovetail, but they're minimal. These are what you might call combat sights or GI sights or hardly usable sights. That's what I usually call them because I can't hardly see the things. But that's what came on the Browning high powers, the FNs originally. So if you're wanting an original high power, that's what you're going to have, unless you want to have some work done to it. Now, obviously, if you want to spend a little bit more money, Nighthawk Custom was putting out a customized FN that they were doing some work to, and they were upgrading a lot of things on it. So if you wanted to get a hold of one of those, that might be a nice gun to have. But I think the price went up quite a bit as well when that happened. It's not going to be anywhere near the price you're going to pay for the Springfield here. Now the other difference, which is a big difference to me, has to do with the hammer. Because if there's one thing about a high power that I do not like, that keeps me from just being crazy about it, is that I get a terrible case of hammer bite. They eat me alive. They absolutely make me bleed. Far worse than even a GI 1911 does. And here's the original hammer here. And it sticks out a little bit past the back of the frame. I don't know if you can see that or not. And the design of the hammer is kind of like a hammer on a Commander 1911. But when this comes back, it comes back really far, and it gets me every time. Meat of my hand gets up in here, and it pinches me really good. On the Springfield, it does not really protrude past the back of the slide, past the back of the frame here, maybe just a hair. And it is a smaller hammer, and it's been said to be recontoured. Let me cock it, and you can see it's smaller, and it does not come back as far, and there is more room between the back of the frame here, though if you call that a beaver tail or not, it's not an extended one, but there's more room between the beaver tail and the hammer on the Springfield Armory, which is what they did to prevent that hammer bite from happening. And in the limited shooting that I have done so far with the Springfield, I can say it is an improvement by far. With that said, I still get a little bit of rubbing on my hand, but so far it has not made me bleed or even been uncomfortable at this point. So far so good, but I haven't put a lot of rounds at one time down range. But we'll see what happens when I actually get it out there and really start shooting it, if eventually it does rub me raw or not. One other thing I need to mention about these two guns is that the original FN has a magazine disconnect. Now these guns are safety checked. They are not loaded. So there's no danger here, but the FN has a magazine disconnect. No magazine, no trigger. You got a dead trigger here. It's not releasing the hammer. If I put the magazine in though, then it will fire. The Springfield, no magazine in there, and it still fires. So there's no magazine disconnect on the Springfield. One other thing here is that you'll notice the mag well is beveled slightly to help with magazine insertion. And of course, the new high powers also come with a 15 round magazine, whereas the original came with a 13 round magazine. But that's pretty well normal now. Now the new FN, the redesigned FN, that's not really an FN that they're making since 2022, actually has, I think, a 17 round magazine. But we need to actually take them apart a little bit and look at the inside. We need to see the inside of the slide, the inside of the frame, to see just how close these two guns are. So why don't we do that? I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do it. We'll just skip ahead to where I've got these things apart. All right, guys. I've got them apart now, so we can kind of take a look. And to be perfectly honest, I've had them both apart, but I've not had them both apart at the same time to really do a comparison. So this is my first time actually comparing them side by side like this. I did notice when I took both of them apart and cleaned both of them that they were very similar, but I didn't actually do a side by side. So, I mean, you can see the frames here with the grips off, the stock's no longer on there. Very, very, very similar. Not a whole lot of difference whatsoever between the two. just looking here at the slides, and just without pulling the recoil spring or the barrel or anything else, they look very, very similar underneath. I mean, extremely similar underneath. So I'm curious whether they will fit and cycle. Yeah, it did. Yeah. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It appears you can just swap the slides on the frames and they still appear to cycle. Now, I have not shot them that way and I'm not going to. This is a very nice older Browning and I'm not going to take a chance on tearing it up. It's not mine. It's a friend of mine's stepfather, and I appreciate very much him lending me this very nice firearm to do this comparison with. So I'm definitely not going to shoot them that way, but it appears that they're so close that you can just change them out on the frame and they work. So I was not necessarily expecting that. But let's go ahead and pull the recoil springs out. Now, as you can see, these are not captive, and it's not a full-length guide rod. Same on the original, though this one is kind of stuck. It is not technically captive. It's just been on there so long it don't want to come off. And looking in, they look very, very much alike. Though there is one difference I see here. In this high power, the original, the barrel appears to be two different pieces that have been welded together, I guess. And you know, I've heard about that with some of the high powers. Now, the original ones I don't think had that. I may be wrong. Some of the expert high power people out there may be able to help me out there, but this one here does appear to have like the two-piece, whereas the Springfield is all one. Now, I've never heard of this actually being a problem, but one thing you do see with the barrel is that they do look a little bit different. Not a lot. You see there? Lugs look about the same. There's some slight differences there. When I put them side by side, I think you can see the slight differences there in the contouring here. So there are some differences, somewhat minor, but they are there. The cross pins here, I did notice there's a little bit of difference on those. This has a little bit bigger pad here for manipulating, and a little bit different contour here maybe, but not much. They're very, very similar. Now, obviously the finish on these two guns is different as well. This is a matte finish, whereas this is more of a polished finish. This is a very beautiful bluing on this gun here, whereas this is a very matte finish. But now we'll take a look here at the slides without the guide rods and the springs and the barrel in there. Well, other than the FN being a little older and having more wear, not a lot of difference. Though I do see something on the, well, I said I did, but I don't believe it is. I thought the Springfield had a larger ejection port, but I don't think it does. It's actually, I think the Springfield has a smaller ejection port. Well, I don't know if it's smaller, but it's slightly different in design. This is a little bit more squared off down at the bottom, whereas this one doesn't seem to be. This one seems to be more of an oval all the way around, whereas this is more of an oval up here and then almost squared at the bottom here. Don't think there's a lot of difference in size though, but kind of surprised by that. I figured they would actually make the injection port larger on the newer model, the Springfield, but I don't believe they did. But guys, I don't know much else to say here. Let's look at the frames here. Rails look pretty much identical. Very little difference there whatsoever. Except for this right here, the magazine disconnect. Yep, this has the magazine disconnect right here. You can see with this when the magazine pushes this, I don't know if you can see that or not, there's a flap in here that pushes forward, pushes in, and it moves this from the front to the back that allows it to fire. But this one just has one already set into that stays back all the time, so that has just been removed out of the frame. Mechanically they work exactly the same. There's just no plunger or whatever you call this thing here for the magazine to interact with. It basically just stays connected all the time in the way this one is designed. So there you go, guys. That's about all I know to tell you about the differences between the Springfield and the FN high powers, the SA-35 and the P-35, or whatever designation you want to use for these two guns. They are very, very similar. So Springfield has done a very good job. They've put out a very true copy, a very true to the original clone of the Browning high power. And they've added some things that I think most people would want on a gun these days that might be keeping people from actually wanting an original FN, or even if you want an original FN, you may not really be wanting to use an original FN. You just have it for the sake of having. It's a safe queen. But the Springfield coming in at a better price and having some of those extra features, might actually be a gun you want to carry. I mean, people still carry 1911s, and this is no heavier or bigger than a 1911. So it could be a viable option. I don't see any reason not to, other than the weight. If the weight bothers you, obviously, I'm not going to carry it myself. I carry a little SIG P365. I always want to call it a pig. A pig 365 instead of a P365. A SIG P365. So it's not going to replace that by any means, because I get practically the same number of rounds and a whole lot smaller and a whole lot lighter package, and one that's actually still fairly easy to shoot. So I don't see this actually becoming a regular carry gun, but who knows? I might actually strap it on every now and then. This may be a gun I actually keep. I don't keep a lot of the guns that I do on this channel because I'm always needing more guns to do. I'm first and foremost these days, I'm a reviewer. I'm someone who wants to try them out and let you know what I think about them, more than just putting them in the safe and keeping them. So there's very few of them I seem to keep anymore that aren't revolvers. Let me go ahead and put that caveat in. If it's a revolver, generally speaking, I can't seem to let go of it, but I have a feeling this one's going to stay in my collection. But there you go, guys. I appreciate you coming out. God bless you. Y'all take care of yourselves. And we will see you next time.